property maintenance and repairs.
That's right. Property maintenance and repairs, all those unexpected headaches.
Exactly. It's like all those things that can really put a dent in your rental income. Think leaky roofs, busted pipes,
Yeah.
AC giving up on the hottest day of the year.
Absolutely. Those are the worst.
The worst.
And that's where our deep dive comes in. We've got some great articles here, like Landlords Today
Yes.
and Rental Property Repairs, Landlords versus Tenant Responsibilities, that really break down these costs and offer some practical tips on how to manage them effectively.
So no sugarcoating here. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of just how much those repairs can cost and what you can do to protect your investment.
Right. And, with rising interest rates and the cost of living going up, it's more important than ever for landlords to be savvy about maintenance. Landlords Today actually found that over a quarter of landlords struggled with these costs in 2023, with maintenance requests being their biggest pain point.
Wow. That's a pretty significant number.
It is.
So before we dive into the solutions, let's get a sense of the problem. So what kind of financial burden are we actually talking about here?
Well, according to Landlord Today, on average, landlords are seeing over a fifth of their rental income eaten up by maintenance costs.
Oh, wow.
That's a pretty hefty chunk.
Yeah, that is.
And if you look at the average ownership period of around 9 years, those costs can add up to over £34,000 for about 72 maintenance tasks.
Okay, you've officially grabbed my attention. £34,000. That's not exactly pocket change?
Definitely not. And while inflation might be cooling down a bit, material costs are still about a third higher than they were back in 2020. So those expenses aren't going away anytime soon.
Okay, this is starting to sound a bit doom and gloom.
Right.
But I'm guessing there's a silver lining here.
Yeah.
Right? We're not just here to scare
Absolutely not.
landlords away.
Landlords Today offer some great advice
Right.
on how to manage these costs proactively.
Oh?
In fact, they have a whole section dedicated to preventative maintenance.
Okay, so this is all about heading off those major repairs before they even happen. Tell me more.
The article suggests setting aside about 1% of the property value each year for preventative maintenance.
Okay.
It might seem like an extra expense up front,
Yeah.
but it's a smart investment in the long run.
So instead of waiting for things to break down, you're taking steps to keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly. And Landlords Today breaks it down into 3 key strategies: quality first, regular inspections, and effective management.
Let's break those down one by one.
Yeah.
So what does quality first mean in the context of property maintenance?
It means not cutting corners
Okay.
on those repairs and upgrades. Choosing high-quality materials and workmanship might cost a bit more initially, but it can save you a lot of money and headaches down the road. Think of it like buying a well-made appliance. It might have a higher price tag, but it will likely last longer and require fewer repairs.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about fixing the problem, it's about fixing it, right? What about those regular inspections? How often should landlords be checking in on their properties?
Landlord Today recommends regular inspections at least once a year.
Okay.
And even more frequently for older properties or those with known issues. Think of it like going to the dentist for a checkup.
Right.
Catching those small problems early can prevent them from turning into major and expensive disasters. A tiny leak ignored can lead to major water damage down the line.
Absolutely. It's like with anything, if you just ignore it, it's going to get worse.
It's only going to get worse.
So it's like those preventative health screenings.
Exactly.
They can save you a lot of trouble down the line. Now, what about that third strategy, effective management? What does that entail?
This one is all about communication and building good relationships with your tenants. Landlord Today stresses the importance of being responsive to maintenance requests and addressing issues promptly.
Right.
Happy tenants are more likely to take good care of the property and report problems early on.
It's about creating a win-win situation where tenants feel heard and landlords can avoid those costly emergency repairs.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just fixing things. It's about creating a positive and respectful landlord-tenant relationship.
Now, while we're on the topic of repairs, one of the articles we have, Rental Property Repairs, Landlord versus Tenant Responsibilities, dives into a tricky area. Who's actually responsible for what?
Right, because it's not always clear-cut.
Exactly. For example, who pays for a leaky faucet? Is it the landlord because it's part of the plumbing system, or is it the tenant if they accidentally damaged it?
That's where this article comes in handy.
Okay.
It lays out the distinction between normal wear and tear, which is the landlord's responsibility, and damage caused by the tenant,
Got it.
which falls on them.
So if a pipe bursts due to old age, that's on the landlord.
Right.
But if the tenant's kid decides to play baseball indoors and breaks a window, that's on them.
Exactly. And having a clear and comprehensive lease agreement that outlines these responsibilities is absolutely crucial.
It's like having a roadmap for the landlord-tenant relationship, setting clear expectations from the start.
Absolutely. It can prevent a lot of disputes and headaches down the road.
Now, speaking of preventing headaches, property meld
Yes.
emphasizes the importance of communication, not just with tenants,
Right.
but also with contractors and even other property owners.
Communication is key in every aspect of property management.
Yeah.
It's about being transparent, providing regular updates, and following through on promises.
And it's not just about conveying information. It's about building trust and fostering a sense of collaboration.
Exactly, when everyone is on the same page.
Yeah.
And communication is open. It can make the whole process of managing repairs and maintenance much smoother.
You know, I'm reminded of a time when I had a minor plumbing issue that turned into a major disaster because of poor communication with the contractor.
Oh, no.
It was a comedy of errors that could have been avoided with a little more clarity up front.
It's amazing how quickly things can spiral out of control when communication breaks down.
Absolutely. So the takeaway here is be proactive, communicate clearly, and document everything.
Solid advice. And speaking of being proactive,
Okay.
let's shift gears a bit and talk about going beyond just repairs. Property meld also highlights the potential of improvement projects to actually enhance your property's value.
So we're not just talking about fixing what's broken, but about strategically upgrading to make the property more attractive and desirable.
Exactly. It's about thinking long-term and making investments that will pay off in the future. And, with so many landlords worried about rising costs, as landlords today pointed out,
Right.
strategic upgrades can be a smart way to justify rent increases.
It's about finding that balance between keeping your property competitive in the market and ensuring that those rent increases are reasonable and justified.
Right. It's about adding value, not just slapping on a fresh coat of paint and calling it a day.
So if a landlord is considering making some improvements, what kinds of things should they be thinking about?
Well, it depends on the property
Yeah.
and the target market. But generally speaking, updates to kitchens and bathrooms, improving energy efficiency,
Okay.
and enhancing outdoor spaces are all good bets.
Those are all great points. And I think it's important to remember that these improvements don't have to be massive budget-busting renovations.
Right.
Even small, thoughtful upgrades can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's the little details that elevate a property and make it stand out from the competition. Things like fresh landscaping, modern light fixtures,
Yeah,
or even a stylish backsplash in the kitchen can go a long way.
definitely. And let's not forget about safety and security upgrades. Things like smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. And security systems can not only provide peace of mind for tenants, but also potentially lower insurance premiums for landlords.
That's a great point. It's about creating a space where tenants feel safe and comfortable, which ultimately leads to greater tenant satisfaction
Yes.
and longer tenancies.
And that's good news for everyone involved.
Yes.
As we've been talking about all these different aspects of property maintenance and repairs, I keep thinking back to that statistic from Landlords today that over a quarter of landlords are struggling with these costs.
It is a significant concern. And it underscores the need for landlords to really be on top of their game when it comes to preventative maintenance, strategic improvements, and clear communication.
Absolutely. It's about being proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. And that proactive approach extends to things like carefully screening tenants, having a solid lease agreement in place, and staying informed about relevant laws and regulations.
Right, because being a landlord isn't just about collecting rent checks. It's a business. And like any successful business, it requires knowledge planning and a commitment to ongoing learning and improvement.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about treating your property like the valuable investment that it is.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Okay.
The potential for confusion regarding landlord and tenant responsibilities when it comes to repairs. We talked about the importance of a clear lease agreement, but are there any other tips for navigating this tricky territory?
One thing that really stood out to me in rental property repairs, landlord versus tenant responsibilities, was the emphasis on documentation.
Documentation.
In what sense? Well, the article recommends documenting the condition of the property at the start of each tenancy, ideally with photographs or videos.
Okay.
This creates a clear record of the property's pre-existing condition
Got it.
and can help to avoid disputes later on.
That's such a smart idea. It's like taking a before picture before you start a home renovation project.
Mhm.
It helps you see how far you've come and also serves as a reference point if any questions arise.
Precisely. And the same principle applies to documenting repairs as they are made. Keep records of all maintenance requests,
Right.
communication with tenants and contractors, invoices and receipts. This not only helps you stay organized, but also provides a paper trail if any issues arise down the line.
So it's all about covering your bases and protecting yourself from potential headaches. I think another important aspect of this is educating tenants about their responsibilities.
I agree. Rental property repairs, landlord versus tenant responsibilities, actually mentions providing tenants with a clear and concise guide outlining their obligations, such as reporting maintenance issues properly, using appliances, and maintaining basic cleanliness.
That's a great suggestion. It sets clear expectations from the start and can help to prevent misunderstandings or conflicts.
Exactly, and it can also foster a sense of shared responsibility for the property, which benefits everyone involved.
This conversation has really highlighted the importance of proactive communication and documentation in the landlord-tenant relationship. It's about building a foundation of trust and mutual respect.
I wholeheartedly agree, and that foundation is essential for a smooth and successful rental experience for both landlords and tenants.
It sounds like communication is really the cornerstone
It is.
of a successful landlord-tenant relationship. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more point that landlords today emphasized.
Okay.
Working the numbers.
Yeah.
What exactly did they mean by that?
They were urging landlords to go beyond those day-to-day tasks and take a strategic look at the financial health of each property.
Okay.
That means analyzing your rental income,
Yeah.
factoring in those projected maintenance costs we talked about, and even considering the potential for appreciation down the line.
So it's not just about collecting rent. It's about making smart financial decisions based on a clear understanding of the numbers.
Precisely. It's about asking those tough questions. Is this property generating enough income to cover its expenses and provide a reasonable return?
Right.
Will those upgrades we discussed actually boost its value and rental potential?
Yeah.
Landlord today wants landlords to think long-term, not just react to the immediate situation.
It's like having a business plan for each property,
Exactly.
not just a to-do list of repairs.
And sometimes working those numbers might lead to a difficult but necessary decision.
Okay.
Selling a property that's simply not performing well.
Right.
Or requires more investment than it's worth.
That's a great point. Sometimes knowing when to let go is just as important as knowing when to hold on.
Absolutely, and those numbers can give you the clarity to make those tough calls.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the real costs of property maintenance and repairs, the importance of preventative measures and strategic improvements, the intricacies of landlord-tenant responsibilities, and the absolute necessity of clear communication and thorough documentation.
It's been a deep dive
It has.
into every aspect of keeping those rental properties in top shape.
Indeed. So for all of you landlords out there, whether you're seasoned pros or just starting out, we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and practical tips. Remember, being a landlord is a journey, not a sprint. It's about continuous learning, adapting to changes in the market, and making informed decisions that protect your investments. And don't forget, those articles we've mentioned are great resources to revisit as you navigate the world of property ownership.
They're packed with even more details and advice than we could cover today.
Exactly. So dive into those articles, assess your own properties and strategies, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
There are plenty of resources and communities out there to support you along the way.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, happy investing.